Happy Thursday and welcome back to the Wolff Den presented by Win Again Academy. I'm Matt Wolff, founder and CEO of Ticket Time Machine. Today we have Timothy Klund, TK on the Wolff Den. Welcome.
Man, thanks for having me, brother.
Yeah, excited to talk to you about a ton of things, but for the people in the audience who might not know who you are, give a quick introduction and then we'll get into it.
Wow. You know what? Honestly, probably the easiest way to sum me up is I'm just an ordinary individual with extraordinary friends. That's pretty much who I am, what I do. I own a few companies, work with professional athletes, celebrities for the last 20 plus years, corporate executive, Fortune 500 companies before I started my own companies. And, we just do what we can to give back. U.S. Air Force veteran. So we do what we can give back to the on a philanthropic, whether it's veteran causes or civilian causes. So always a ton of craziness going on in my life.
Well, let's start with the Air Force story, part of your life. Obviously, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
It's how did you decide that you wanted to be in the Air Force? Did you know? Was it a last
I didn't. I didn't decide. I partied too much my senior year, lost a football scholarship to college, and my dad was smart enough. He took me, once I found out I was going to have to go JUCO, the next day he took a day off and took me to the Armed Forces recruiters. He said, pick one. So my dad was Army, my grandfather was Army, and it was like, I'm not going Army. And my uncle was in the Air Force from World War II and, had done a lot of great things in his life. And that's probably what persuaded me more than anything. And then, of course, just the background of the Air Force, I just felt like that's more my speed. I loved it.
But
that's how I got in, though.
But didn't play football with them.
No, actually, I did play semi-pro football while I was in the Air Force in Colorado Springs. I had a great career in the military. It's from 1988 to 95. And so I was in the Philippines first for my first 2 years, played, squadron softball, then base team softball, then squadron soccer, base team soccer. So once I made the base teams, I got to travel the Pacific, play whether it's soccer season or softball season, travel and play that. And then I came back to the States right as Desert Storm was kicking off. And by the time I got back to the States, at Peterson Air Force Base, my squadron there had already left and were on their way back. And, Desert Storm was a blank for me. Honestly, it didn't affect me one bit. And then when my squadron came back, we were back to normal, just everyday duty, peacetime mission. And then played semi-pro football there, got my second concussion, blew a knee out. The Air Force was like, we're done with this. Went back to softball, again, made base team, made the all Air Force traveling team. And I had a great career. And then after about 6.5 years, I had an opportunity to get early out and go play back to college football, Southeast Missouri State with my little brother, Greg, who had just finished his sophomore year as an All-American. So, it was great. I was a electrician in the Air Force, indoor, outdoor, interior, exterior. So it was a lot of fun and just great camaraderie. I'm still in touch with so many amazing friends from the Air Force, even all the way back then. And a lot of them will come to the celebrity softball game weekend. Thank God to Facebook and helping a lot of us reconnect. Because, when you left in early 90s, you didn't have a phone that kept all your numbers and, moving around a lot, you didn't, you're lucky to keep up with your number. And so Facebook was able to reconnect a lot of us, and which has been a true blessing. So, yeah, it's pretty awesome. A lot of fun.
Yeah, I was at the Panthers game the other day. They have something called Military Heroes Among Us, and their president and CEO, Matthew Caldwell, was in the Army. When he graduated, it was right after 9/11. So they went right. I mean, he literally went from graduation into war.
Yep.
You sign up for something like that and you just don't know. You could go your whole career and never see anything, or you could, graduate and all of a sudden you're in there, or you could be many years of peace and now all of a sudden, the Russia invades Ukraine. And
I mean, there's no telling what's going on, right? I mean, that's part of the volunteer service. You are always ready. Obviously you're doing all your training and everything as if any minute a war could break out and you're needed. What we did in the Air Force, my squadron, we were the guys that would actually go in and build the tent cities. Our name was Red Bull. So the Red Bull squadron would go in and build the tent cities in war zones for the Marine and Army and Air Force people to come in and stay at the forward operating bases. So that's what we did. But again, Desert Storm was such a blink that by the time I got back to the States, my squadron was already back, and that was it. It's over with. And it was a lot different. Even Desert Storm is a lot different than post 9/11 veterans and what they went through and deployments. And it's a night and day, and it's unfortunate. 20-year war for the most part. For the guys and girls that served in it post 9/11 and things they had to go through and everything else. But again, you're right, man. You just never know. And it's just thank God for, American patriots that are willing to step up and take the challenge, whether peacetime or wartime, that's ready to answer a call. So on our nation's behalf. So, yeah, it's awesome. It's a great honor, mostly for me.
It's not and I don't know, I'm just judging by the people I've talked to in my lifetime. But it's not an easy life, even without wartime.
No, I mean, if you're enlisted, you're pretty much underneath the poverty level. But because you are military, probably don't qualify for food stamps or anything like that. I mean, you're basically about as poor as it comes. It's not a glamour life that most people, if you've never served it, most people think, oh, they got it easier. They're always taking care of it. No, it's not. That's not the case. I mean, I can't tell you how many friends I had that were, for the most part, all of us, even as a single guy in the Air Force. I mean, I was in for 6.5 years. I think when I got out, after 6.5 years, I think I was making $1,500 a month, maybe, and thought I was loaded, thought I was living Trump style, had the new RX-7 and, just living life, poor as could be and just barely getting by. I had to work second job. I actually bounced while I was in the Air Force, at a little bar in Manitou Springs. It's called Laura Bell's. I don't even know if it's still there, but yeah, I used to bounce there every Friday and Saturday just to make some pocket change. Honestly, I actually worked there just to pay for my RX-7 at the time.
It's hard transitioning. I network a lot with athletes who are transitioning, and they do fairly well. But transitioning from a life in the armed forces to civilian life, to having to earn a living outside of that, it's got to be tough. So how did you navigate?
I had a bunch of friends. It's all about who you know, right? So when I left the military, I went back home to Southeast Missouri again to actually play college football with my little brother, and had got everything set up for that fall. Was already practicing with the team, doing the workouts. Meeting a lot of the guys on the team already, and obviously I knew a bunch of them from my little brother already. Even while I was in and come back and visit and. But yeah, one of my older friends from high school was the one who was like, Klund boy, like, why are you going to college, bro? Like, you're going to be like 30 years old when you graduate. You're already beat up enough. You're not going to make 4 years of football, blah, blah, blah. And he was like, you should come work for me. He's like, what do you want to do? I said, sales and marketing, I guess. And he's like, man, why waste your time? Come work for me. And I was like, well, what are you doing? He's like, I'm selling trailers. I'm like, man, I'll go to college. And, he wrote me in. He said, hey, come by tomorrow, come by the lot and take you to lunch. And I just want to show you a few things. And I thought, I got nothing to lose. I mean, it's a free lunch. And I got there. And in the mid 90s, the manufactured home industry was just booming. And it wasn't the kind of trailers I grew up in, metal on metal, where, basically the wind just blew right through it. I mean, these things were immaculate when I went and looked at them. And I was like, man, these things are awesome. And then I saw what he was making. And in Southeast Missouri, he was making almost $100,000 a year. And I was like, again, I honestly did think that was Donald Trump money. I literally thought the $100,000 a year, they're going to actually bring my check in a Brinks truck at that point, after making $1,500 a month. But I ended up talking to Coach Mumford from Southeast Missouri State, asked him about it. And he was like, Klund, listen, man, that's what you go to college for, is to, be able to make money. And if you can go make $60,000, $70,000 a year here in Southeast Missouri, and you don't have to rack up student loan debt and, beat your brains in, 100%, I'm with you, buddy. And, and I was just very appreciative of him, and, said, hey, you're the one who got me here. I don't want to let you down. He's like, you're not letting me down. I'm proud of you. I'm excited for you. And, 100% take it. Now, the cool thing is it was so far along, that literally I was either starting mobile homes on one day selling, or I was at 2 days. And it was so far along that my name was actually in Southeast Missouri State's program the entire year. So I do always get to go to my kids and go, hey, take a look here. Like, Dad made it. They're like, yeah, you didn't even play. And I'm like, so what? I'm in a program with Uncle Greg. That's all that matters. Check it off. Let's go. And then, and then from there, corporate ladder. success. I mean, I got recruited. I was actually pretty good, and I just kept getting recruited. And that was in 95. And then by 97, a Fortune 500 company, Oakwood Homes, recruited me as a general manager for one of their locations, actually in Southeast Missouri. Did really well. After a year, they brought me down here to Texas in 98. And I had 2 stores in Fort Worth, working my way up to be a district manager. One of my really good friends who was a general manager in Missouri came down, took the district manager spot. He was moving on up to a VP spot. So he brought me down. That's how I got down here. When I got to Texas, man, I didn't know anybody. He lived in Austin, I'm in Fort Worth. And so literally just came down here in the middle of the night, took over a location and got to work. And from there, things just kind of went crazy. Met my wife and, had kids, and was in a car accident in 2000 that changed my life. Fell asleep driving home. And, then I woke up one day and my wife was like, hey, we're going back to mobile homes. What are we doing? And I was watching Jerry Maguire actually. And I was like, you know what? I'm not going back 7 days a week. I don't care how much money I'm making. Like, I'm way too young to feel this old. I actually had my face replaced on my 30th birthday, which was October 13th, 2000, which just happened to be a Friday, October 13th. If you have a Catholic mother, that's, oh my God, we can't have the surgery on this day. It's bad luck. I'm like, any improvement to this face would be great. We're moving through this. We're moving on. So yeah, I ended up was watching Jerry Maguire, and my wife's like, oh my God, you hit your head way too hard. And, I'm literally calling the doc. You don't have a degree. You don't even know an athlete. Like, who are, I mean, honestly, God, man, when I tell you I'm just an ordinary individual, I just work hard. And, I'm just very, very fortunate to have a lot of friends. Good Lord has just thrown a ton of blessings my way. And probably about 6 months after my accident, a buddy of mine recruited me to debt settlement industry and was like, hey, this is brand new. We have a VP here. He's not going to be here long. Come in and take over a VP, help us grow this company. Probably a month or 2 after I did that, actually met my first pro athlete by chance. And he was like, hey, let's start working together. And I was like, man, I don't know anything about this. So now I got my Jerry Maguire moment. And I was actually scared to death. I'm like, nah, man, I wouldn't want you to put your family's financial future in my hands. And he's like, nope, you got it. I'll teach you how to do everything. We'll split everything 50-50. And, again, by that time I was a VP in the corporate world doing really well. And I was like, man, you keep all your money. If you're willing to take the chance, let's go. And that's where it started. And then, the brand just expanded really quickly amongst his friends and the pro athletes that he knew. And, it just kind of took off on both sides. And then in 2008, when the economy crashed, the shareholders brought me in and said, hey, we need to fire about half this company. And I was like, you can start with my salary. I'm not firing anybody today. And that was it for corporate world for me. And I went home and told my wife, like, come hell or high water, we're going to make anybody millions of dollars. It's going to be for us. And, I'm tired of making everybody else all the money and basically getting a 0.00 something, percentage of what I'm making them. So that's kind of how we started our own companies. And again, this is the short of all the good stuff. We got our rear ends handed to us. Like, you just name it. It was constant adversity. Life is constant adversity. It's just how you handle adversity is what direction you keep going. So, we started doing that and then worked with athletes and then got into performance mouthwear. And then even that company I co-founded, just wasn't taking off. And 6 years later, I was like, buy me out. And again, now here I am getting ready to be 37, I think at the time. No, was that 37? Yeah, no, actually 47. Getting ready to be 47 at the time. Going, now what? And I ended up writing a book and was just kind of, the bio was pretty good. So I had a little time to just relax and kind of get my senses and wrote a book that got published in 2017. I was on the phone with Roger Clemens at the beginning of 2017, probably around April. And I had done a celebrity softball game with Marcus Luttrell for the Lone Survivor Foundation in 2015. And I was on his board and it did really well. And I was like, Rocket, what do you think about an OUUT alumni game that kicks off OUUT weekend? He was like, oh, bro, put it together. And so we did that. And probably about a week to 10 days, if that, I don't even know if it was that, Rocket called me. He's like, hey, brother, what do you think about Matthew and Toby playing? I'm thinking athletes. We got Vince Young playing. We got all these greats from OU and UT playing. I'm like, Matthew and Toby who? He's like, there was quietness for about a few minutes. And then he was like, Matthew McConaughey and Toby Keith. I'm like, well, yeah, they can play. What are you talking about? So those two came and played in the first year. We had a blast. We raised money for Lone Survivor Foundation. After that event, Matthew, Toby, and Rocket pulled me to the side and said, hey, why don't the four of us partner on this? We'll grow this every year. And whatever we make off it, we'll split amongst our foundations equally. And TK, you can donate yours to the lone survivor, whoever you want. And it's like, great, let's do that. So that got up and rolling. After 2018, all my other celebrities, guys and girls, started calling me, like complaining, like, hey, this is really cool, but sucks. We want a game too. And so we did a really quick game in 2019 to raise money for Carry the Load, a co-ed game. And it just turned out great, even for a last minute debacle. It still turned out really, really good. And I knew there was something there on that. And then COVID hit, knocked both games out in 2020. And then at the end of 2020, the Texas Rangers called me and were like, hey, actually they suckered me in. They're like, hey, you and your wife want to come up to the suite for the rodeo? I'm like, my guess, let me talk to her. So we go up there, and I mean, I don't even have a beer in my hand yet. And they're already like, hey, so you should bring your softball games here to Globe Life. And I'm like, man, I don't know if I can afford you guys. And, a few more beers later, I'm like, hell yeah, let's do this thing. We're going to do it here. And next morning I woke up, I'm like, man, what did I just freaking jump off the bridge for? So we did our first one last year in 2021, and it turned out phenomenal. It was awesome. Our OUUT game actually ended up getting canceled again because of scheduling conflicts with the stadium last year. But now we're back, June 11th this year, Globe Life Field. The rosters are ridiculous. I've got veterans and celebrities on both. Dak Prescott, Zeke Elliott, Michael Irvin, the Chrisley family, Todd Chrisley from Chrisley Knows Best and his boys Chase and Grayson. We got amazing females from supermodel Kristen Reed, Bonnie Jo Laughlin, UFC fighter Raquel Pennington. I mean, it's just all over the place. And I've got a lot of local friends who have been with me forever. Guys from the 90 Cowboys that, Kenny Gant and Kevin Smith and a few others that, one got looked like Thanos on their hands with all their three Super Bowl rings. But, we don't really want to play TK. We just want to kind of participate. Great, you can come do that. And, country music stars like Casey Donahue and last year we had Cody Jinks. And but again, everybody's back to being busy. So, yeah, it's going to be a lot of fun. And then our other game will be October 6th. And we'll play that at the Rangers AA Stadium up in Frisco, at the Frisco Rough Rider Stadium, where we always have it. So, and on top of that, I have 4 companies with 2 new product launches that we're going through right now too. So, it's been a real joy, to say the least.
You got a little bit going on here. I want to go back.
There's 2 things going on, yeah.
I want to go back. It's interesting because when you went back to your coach at Southwest Missouri and he was talking about, hey, you can get money. What's your take on the NIL and the portal? My take is I don't want to get dramatic and say it's ruining college sports, but I think it's chaotic. It's the Wild Wild West. I was all for athletes getting the ability to earn money. We just have to. I think they had to do it in a way. And I was listening to Will Bond and Kornheiser on PTI saying like the NCAA was the reason why they're in this jam.
Right.
The NCAA is kind of the only one who could sort of do anything about it, but they're not strong enough, and they also don't want to because they were the ones who were preventing forever. So what's your take?
The thing is, I'm totally against it, to be honest with you. Again, at Southeast, that school didn't have a lot of budget anyway. So, honestly, all the athletes were broke. We were all broke. And, actually, I was funding most of it once I started working. I was the one funding all the beer runs and everything on the weekends when we were out. But, what I don't like about it now, my young son, he lives with some kids from TCU, and they haven't really signed up with anybody yet. We had a little conversation about what I don't like is you have young kids that now all of a sudden they're in the shark bowl. You got tons of sharks coming after them. Hey, we'll give you this, we'll pay you this to do this or do that. And there's really no guidance because they don't have agents. They can't have agents, right? So now you have anywhere from 18-year-old to 23, 24-year-old making their own decisions on taking money or product or something else to maybe tweet it out or, send it out on social media, whatnot. And not really understanding, the good and bad and ugly about all those things. And, or even what they're maybe even signing, from a contract standpoint. That's what I don't like. The NCAA, honestly, you're right. They're the reason why we're all in this mess. And the NCAA could have very easily, if they weren't so greedy, said, hey, look, we're going to give back profit share back to the colleges that can give. Now, the bigger universities, look, let's don't kid ourselves. Like, they're getting paid anyway.
Yeah.
It's all underneath the table, boosters. There's a way you're getting kids paid. But that's the big universities that have big money. Outside of that, the smaller universities, they don't really have those boosters doing that. And again, those kids are just there to get an education for the most part. Most of them aren't thinking NFL. They're not thinking X level. They're trying to, but the reality is, maybe 1 out of 100 will make the NFL out of those leagues, out of those colleges. So, but again, I just don't like it personally because I just feel like, man, you're letting some people you probably wouldn't want to let in your kid's life. And a lot of these kids obviously probably aren't talking to their parents. They're meeting these guys at a bar or through a friend or something else. And, here's a pocket full of cash if you'll do X, Y, Z. And now all of a sudden that's illegal. Like, this is not legal. It's criminal is what it is. And it's going to end up causing a lot of problems, especially if a kid don't go to the next level. Then what? Then what's going to happen when the gravy train's cut off for that kid and guy or girl, and they got to actually start going to work for a living. And, they're kind of used to having this or that. And now everything's I just am not a big fan of it personally. It's kind of like AAU sports, kind of like Mark Cuban's like, we're flying kids around on private jets for what? Like, they don't make the NBA,
They're taking the chance.
They're done.
There's a chance. Yeah. They think it's an investment that's worth it just in case they got enough money to go.
I've got my own companies. I've got tons of, college athletes that both of my kids have played with, and even myself would never approach those kids just from a ethical standpoint on my own self. I just wouldn't. Yeah, I'll give them some of our mouthpieces and stuff, for them because I know them. But it's like I don't want you. Oh, you want me to post on TK? No, it's just for you. I want to make sure you're protected and you get the best product you can get. Don't worry about us. We got it under control. But again, we're overly blessed because of our relationships with the, pro athletes in every genre from PB, and our mouthpieces, I got PBR guys wearing them, NASCAR guys wearing them, Formula One guys, all your normal, NFL, MLB, NHL, professional soccer, Premier League, rugby teams, All Blacks. I mean, it's just all over the place for us and MMA. So for me to have to just, I'm not in a position where I need to go scavenger off college kids to help us. It's just not worth it.
I agree. I think it's a good outlook. I think it'll be interesting to see what happens. They think the market will correct itself. I think there needs to be oversight.
It's kind of one of those, you step off, you can't go back. You can't go back when you find out this is not good. You can't go all of a sudden go, okay, well, we're gonna now not do this.
Right.
No, but again, it goes back to the NCAA being greedy and all the heads of state over there and the colleges. Look, let's don't pass the colleges. They're greedy too. And, all this really started back, if you think about it, back like the Fab Five, when they were blowing up in Michigan and those kids are eating ramen noodles and they're like, wait a minute, Jalen Rose and Chris Webber and all those guys are like, wait a minute, there's my number 4 jersey in the window. Here's the number 5 jersey in the window. Nike is killing off black socks, and all the above, and we're not getting anything off of it. And that's really kind of, I think when it kind of took the approach of people are like, hey, wait a minute, I get that I'm here on scholarship and I appreciate you're paying for my college, but they could have also stipend those kids a little bit back then based on, their production on what their sport was doing. Right. Again, a little bit of revenue share from the college down wouldn't have hurt anything. So, and we wouldn't be in this mess today if they would have done that.
My feeling is that they probably did okay, not as good as they could have or should have, but they. For me, it was the O'Bannon when he started fighting.
Well, then you see what happened, right? And all of a sudden, they took money, this and that, and then we're banned. They're all getting banned for 10 years and all that. And the college tries to act like they're the innocent good ones, and they're the ones who created the mess. No, I'm not a big fan of it. I'm not a big fan of corporates. I'm not a big fan of, my wife says, you always have a problem with authority. No, I just have a problem with criminals. And most of those people at those levels, that's what they are. They're greedy, egotistical criminals that don't care about anybody underneath them. So I just don't have a lot of love and, heartfelt feelings for corporations or the political establishment personally.
Yeah, I've worked for big companies and I have a lot of the same feelings that you have, and is why I do my own thing and I'll never go back to working for someone else. You mentioned relationships a few times. Obviously, that's the key to everything. Who do you know? But there's 2 ways to look at that. The first way is you kind of get lucky by meeting someone and they, for whatever reason, they want to have the relationship, or you build the relationship because someone likes who you are and what you stand for and what you do. That's, that's earned.
Well, they're both really one and the same, right? They're both in one and the same. So I get people calling me all the time, like, "Hey, so and so told me to call you," blah, blah, blah. But okay, that's step one. Now we have to build a relationship because I don't trust anybody,
Yeah.
especially with my name and my circle. So okay, well, it's great meeting you, and that's step one. And then step two is start building and earning the trust on both sides, right? And the
That's
relationship.
difficult to
So if
do.
somebody tells me they're going to do something, I expect it. If I tell somebody they're going to do something, they should expect it.
Yeah.
And so again, it's a trust factor. Look, the circle I'm in is probably the hardest circle you can get in, and people would pay a lot of money to get in a circle that I just fell in. But this is also a circle that you can quickly be bounced out, and I've seen it tons of times because people get in and they don't have the right motivation, and they don't have the right ethics, and they don't stay around long. And like I said, I've been doing this almost 21 years now, work with professional athletes and celebrities and helping them with their name branding and endorsements and everything else. And that's the reason why I like, at the celebrity softball game, the biggest thing for me is just covering the budget so we don't lose money. So the foundations get money and everything else. But, every single person you see on those rosters from, celebrity to veterans, whoever, they all come for free. I don't pay any of them. They pay for their own hotel. If they need a hotel, they pay for their own gas. They pay for their own drinks. I don't pay for anything. All I do is provide an opportunity for them to come have fun, get them a jersey and a hat. And we have a lot of fun. But, because of the relationships and because of them knowing me and vice versa, that's why they come and play. They know that, hey, TK's doing it for the right reasons, where he's not trying to scavenge or anybody. And, and that's why they come and have fun, but again, most people can't get that.
No,
So I'm very, very blessed.
I talk to charities that have galas, and even when they were virtual, and they're like, "Well, we paid $40,000 to have this guy perform." I'm like, what? That defeats the whole purpose.
Look, and I am all for I'm all for those guys and girls making money. Again, I love capitalism at its best, especially during that time. There's people that obviously needed money because they couldn't travel or whatnot. But for the most part, almost everybody I know that I've ever been around with philanthropic, from Big Brothers Big Sisters on their board, the Boys and Girls Club, to you name it. I don't know if anybody I know have gotten paid, to come and participate or help out.
No, that kind of defeats the purpose a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
Because that money could be used elsewhere. Even if you say,
hey,
I
had a guy tell me last week. I had a guy tell me last week that he's wanting to do this event, and and I said, well, he really has never done anything. I'm like, well, you're taking a pretty big risk. Well, if I lose, 100,000, 150, I'll just pay it. And I'm like, well, why don't you just take the 100, 150,000, put it in your foundation, and not take no risk?
Yeah,
it makes no sense to me.
Yeah,
if you're willing to
even going to pay someone to do it, then let them donate that money back to the organization. At least they could feel, whatever. I don't know. There's just
it's just, and again, that's the other thing. I mean, these events do cost a lot of money. This celebrity, just the game itself, costs about $163,000 with the stadium rental and everything else. And again, I'm just overblessed. I put some of my own money in it, but I have a lot of friends that come to the rescue and sponsor, and corporations, and but even ourselves, we have 15,000 people we're expected. I'll probably easily give out 8,000 free tickets to different foundations and organizations, and just people who I just want them to have an opportunity. Like, not everybody gets an opportunity to go to Globe Life Field for a Rangers game or anything else. So it's like, hey, how can we use this opportunity to bless a lot of other people, give them an event that they'll just never forget, right? And that's really what it's all about. And, we had a young girl, probably about a week before the event, a good friend of mine, Samantha Davis, who's the executive director of 60'6", which is Derek Collins Foundation, used to pitch for the Rangers, and I think he's with Boston now. But they do a lot with the Children's Cancer Fund here in Dallas. And she says, hey, we got this young girl that we just love, and is there any way we can bring her to the game? And I'm like, man, absolutely. And I was like, well, how many other, young children with cancer can you get together and bring them out so they can come have some fun, right? So it was probably about 10 kids and their siblings and their families, and it was a lot of fun. We had it on the field before the game, and everybody fell in love with Adriana. She loved collecting the commander coins that the military guys always have on them. Zeke and Dak Prescott were sending her gear all the time during the season. I mean, everybody just fell in love with this young girl, and she really touched a lot of people. She passed away about 2 months ago, right before her 9th birthday. So, that's the kind of things that her family's so appreciative that they got to come to this game. And to me, it's something I get to do all the time, and I'm around it all the time. But I mean, they were just so appreciative that we would even invite them to come out, for her to come out and have fun, because she played softball, was a big fan of softball, and just had a great time. That, you're like, that's the reason why we have these games, right? Those, like, the other charities and foundations are great. Best for Child Rescue. Craig Solomon Sawyer, SEAL Team 6 guy. His foundation is nothing more than sex trafficking, saving kids and women and men and all the above from sex trafficking. And they do a phenomenal job. They got an unbelievable documentary called ContralandMovie.com. I would suggest everybody go see it. ContralandMovie.com. Just type it in and watch it on what's going on with sex trafficking in America. It actually makes more money than all the pro team leagues put together. NFL, NBA, NHL, pro soccer. I mean, you can pretty much throw them all in there, and they don't even come close to what sex trafficking makes in America per year. And that's pretty sad, actually, and how kids are disappearing and, off the street and all the above. The other foundation we work with is SaveTheBrave.org, which is another phenomenal foundation that Scott Husing is executive director of, Major Scott Husing, who wrote the book Echo and Ramadi. He's one of the first teams in Ramadi during the war. And again, just phenomenal guys and girls. And, and they give a lot back too. It's not like they just take the money and it's all about them. No, they take the money, they use it with other foundations and other opportunities for veterans to go on different trips or fishing or just camaraderie, right? And and then we got Cowboys Helping Cowboys, which will get a little time during the game. Obviously, the Cancer Fund, 60'6", will get some time during the game. Hounds and Heroes, which Bonnie Joe Laughlin, who's like a sister of mine, first female NBA scout, cowboy cheerleader. She actually rescues dogs, gets them trained for PTS, service members and individuals, and they donate them for free. So there's a lot of cool things moving here during this game. Is even though it's like these are the two foundations benefiting, I can't tell you how many people, just like young Adriana's lives, are touched by just coming to this game, and it touches my life. And for selfish purposes, for me, so it's a way for me to have a big family reunion each year and get to see a lot of people I care about and love, and that because we're all so busy, we don't get to see all the time. So. Same with the OUUT game. It's just a great way for everybody to get together, have a lot of fun, and give a lot of exposure to some other charities, and invite a lot of people who maybe couldn't come on their own, let them come and enjoy the moment with us as well. So that's what these weekends are all about.
And you're on the Hook'em side?
I'm actually a Big 12. Actually, I grew up a Big A guy. So growing up in Southeast Missouri, we had Mizzou, but Mizzou had UT and Oklahoma and Nebraska, and really what would be considered the SEC of nowadays was back then, right? We were the powerhouse. But when I grew up, really Oklahoma was ever the team we always watched, and obviously that was the years of the Boz. I was probably a sophomore, junior in high school when the Boz was killing it. So it was Boz mania, and so really living here in Texas, I'm a Hook'em to a certain extent. If I'm with the Hook'em guys, I'm Hook'em. If I'm with the OU guys, I'm Boomer. So that's the great thing about not having to go to college. You can just wherever you're at. Hey, when in Rome, my kid goes to TCU. We'll go to TCU. Other kid went to Texas Tech. We go to Tech. We're Tech fans. So it just like I said, it makes it nice. And then I got a daughter going to Hawaii, which I'm glad. I can't wait for Parents Weekend. So my youngest is graduating in about 2 weeks, and she's the smartest one of all of them, because I kept telling them, like, if you're not playing college sports, if you got to go to college, why wouldn't you do it somewhere like Hawaii? So she's probably the smartest one out of all three of my kids, and her two older brothers that was like, I'm going to Hawaii. I'm like, yeah, I'm glad. Let's go. I'll come live with you.
I remember before I went to college, and I was a big fan of Hawaii just because of the color, the rainbows and the color.
Oh, yeah.
It was just a cool logo and uniforms and a cool thing. So I
actually, her godfather, who I played semi-pro football with, went to University of Hawaii and still lives in Denver. So, of course, he's elated and excited that his goddaughter is going to Hawaii. So,
is June Jones the coach out there? June Jones?
I don't know if he still is or not. He used to be.
Yeah.
I don't know if he is or not. We miss him at SMU, but. That's the other thing, kind of going back to what we were talking about with veterans getting out and pro athletes getting out. And even, I've never been to prison, but I imagine a lot of it's the same, from time you're in the military, you're always being told what to do, where to go, how to do it, how to walk, talk, dress. When you're in a pro athlete, from time you're in high school, college, pros, you're always being told we have to wear this on the bus, you have to wear this in travel, we got to do this, you got to be here, you got to be. And then, leaving the base for that last time is like leaving the facility, pro facility for the last time, leaving the prison for hopefully the last time. And you're kind of going, now what? Right. And pro athletes, in a lot of cases, obviously have a lot better than a veteran coming out, a military person coming out, because hopefully they got some money stashed and, they're not financial hardship. Most veterans coming out, man, they're all living paycheck to paycheck for the most part. So when they come out, they have to, have something pretty quick. And that's where relationships come in. And even in my book that I wrote, Stop Whining, Start Winning, that's some of the things I talk about is like, even whether you're in the military, you should still get involved with civilian foundations while you're in that community. And I was lucky enough that I had a ton of civilian friends because I played semi-pro football and I played with a lot of civilian softball teams off base. So, most guys and girls, they just stay to the base, right? They don't really expand their brand outside the base. And that's something that's always helped me. And that's the thing I talk to athletes when they're young in the league too, and we're working together, is we have to get you involved in a foundation and start getting your name brand out there and start building relationships in this local community while you're a starter, while you're a player, because it's not going to last forever. And then, once your career is over with, now you've got those relationships, right, that you can go back and talk to and continue working with. So it's really about who and that's even like the prison system, man. Those guys are set up to fail when they leave, honestly. You can't get a job, you can't do this, you can't, even guys that want to change their lives, it's so hard for them that most of them just have to resort to what they already know, right? Crime. So it's a sad situation for them. But the biggest thing I think for the most part of anybody is the camaraderie. It's when they leave, they just don't have all those friends around them, but what I call the locker room friends. Them veterans, military guys, the celebrity athletes, it's the locker room that you miss the most. Even for me, I missed, playing softball with all my guys, after getting out of the Air Force, you missed it. So, but again, it's really about who and that's where you're going to get your start in moving forward.
And also there's a mental health component to, coming at, identity. Who am I? This is what I've been for the last X amount of years. It's not society. It doesn't live in the way.
Let's say you're in the military for 10 years. So you're probably a coffee cup manager, right? What I call coffee cup manager. You're walking around coffee cup in your hand all day long, directing traffic, right? And probably not making a lot of money, honestly, but you're making more than the young guys and girls. So when you come out, again, if you haven't been planning on what I call the great escape, if you don't have things set up and you're waiting until the last minute, again, you're probably almost paycheck to paycheck. You might have a little savings, but that stuff goes pretty quick. And that's what starts causing the downfall. Like in anything, is I can't find a job, and then what? I'm having financial trouble. And then what's the number one cause of divorces? Finances. So now all of a sudden, me and my wife ain't getting along. I can't fit. I'm flying here. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to, and it's just a downhill spin, right? And then the other thing is a lot of these guys, the VA man is pushing prescription meds so bad that there's guys and girls taking, I don't know. I've had guys and girls tell me they're taking anywhere from 20, 30 pills a day. And all those chemicals in your body is not going to be a good thing. And that's actually the reason why we created the Verve Forever, which is our CBD brand, because I had a lot of veterans telling me they were able to get off the prescription meds by going to CBD. But again, at that point, CBD was really expensive, and it still is. But we created a company that I feel we're the best product out there, but we're 50% off 100% of the time. So if you compare us, there is no apples and apples with us. You could compare us on a product side, apples and apples, but we're still always going to be 50% off than the competitor. And that's because I want people to have the opportunity to be able to get the stuff they need from a holistic standpoint where they can get off those meds, because that's the reason why I think the suicide rate is so high, not just in the military, but in society as a whole, is because the prescription meds and all the chemicals running through everybody's body.
Yeah, it's such a big problem. There's so many causes that need attention. And it's even just like, how do you choose with the platform that you have, which to elevate, and you have a lot of good ones, but some of it's who right? It's they have a foundation, you have a foundation. it's hard for all of these organizations and foundations to get money, to get even just attention, to be in part of the conversation, because there's so much that needs to be helped there. How did you decide what was important to you? Like, why are these foundations important to you?
Well, like everything in my life, I just kind of fell into it, in the corporate America, where every time our phone rang, that was an expensive lead that we were paying for. And right before everybody's going to lunch, my HR director came in. It's like, hey, TK, by the way, we've got Big Brothers and Big Sisters coming in today to talk, and I need your entire team in the conference room, which was of like 150 people. And I'm like, it's not happening. And they're like, no, I told them they would. And I'm like, how long? Like, it's not happening. Like, how long is this? And poor girl was in there just kind of, well, let's see Big Brothers is. And she just wasn't really a good presenter. And it got to a point where I was like, probably about the 30-minute mark. I was like, sweetheart, quickly, what can we do to help? What are you in here for? Like, I'm not, what's your pitch? What are you in here for? What can we do to help? She's like, well, we're looking for mentors or volunteers. And so I'm like, great. So can we get to that point? Like, whoever wants to volunteer, you got something for us? She goes, yep, we have a packet they can fill out and we'll get the process started. Great. So I'm like, great. Who wants to volunteer? Be a big brother, big sister in here? Like, who's stepping up? Crickets. And I was like, you know what? You want to be the leader, be the leader. So I was like, you know what? I'll tell you what, I'll be a mentor. Give me that packet. I'll do it. And I remember coming home, telling my wife, like, hey, I filled out this packet today, be a mentor for Big Brothers, Big Sisters. She's like, you barely have enough time for your own kids at this point. Like, how are you going to be able to like hang out with some other kid? And I'm like, we'll figure it out. And honestly, what's the best thing ever happened to me? My little brother, Jeremy, was seventh grader. He's 12 years. We still communicate even today. He's probably 31 at this point. He's about 20 years younger than me. So about 31 at this point. And, has been greatly successful in his life, and I mean, grew up in the projects and, had a great mom. Just, his dad he had a great dad. Actually, his dad was just never here. Didn't live in Texas, wasn't around here. It was hard for him to get back to see Jeremy. And again, his dad and I had a great relationship. His mom and I had a great relationship. But, Jeremy just kind of palled around with me on the weekends when I had events going on when I was first starting out. And, we'd go do some stuff with Big Brothers, Big Sisters. But he was about probably 4 years older than my oldest. And my oldest was the one who's always like, Dad, can we go get Jeremy this weekend? Because he just loved Jeremy. And he was kind of like a big brother, and, they'd hang out. And so he just became our family, and his family became our family. And then, when it was time for college, he called me. He was like, hey, what is what I'm thinking? I need some help. We got him into the right college. He played college football, graduated, actually did his internship for his master's at Big Brothers Big Sisters in Abilene, and ended up graduating with his master's and working for Big Brothers and Big Sisters for a little while. And now he's working for the Fort Worth school district for special needs kids. And he's married with 2 beautiful young daughters now. And he's just a guy you couldn't be more proud of, right? But again, going back to my book, something I've learned in life, and that's probably my whole secret to life, is just find out somebody who's doing what you want to do and do it. Copy them. If they're already successful, don't try to rewrite the mission statement. Just how did they get there? What do they do? How do they do it and cheat, right? And that's the first chapter of my book, is that, success is by design. Nobody wakes up successful. Nobody. And if you're like me, and the only way you can kind of learn is through failure, which is actually how I've learned, is you do something, it didn't work. You go, okay, now I kind of see what didn't work. Now we're going to do it again, and we'll try it this way. And sometimes you get farther down the line, something else happened. Okay, what happened? Okay, get back on track. Let's go again. And that's where the adversity comes in, where you just can't give up. If you want it bad enough, you just keep going, even though you just kind of keep getting punched in the face on a regular basis. But success is by design. You find somebody who's successful and you go from there. And that's really what mentoring is. There's a Hall of Fame Big Brother, Big Sisters named Dell Long. Guy's mentored so many kids. I don't even know how many kids this guy's mentored. And Dell Long's famous quote is, before a young man to become a man, he must first see a man. And that's kind of life in general, right? I mean, I can promise you, if you look at kids that are getting in trouble, they probably don't have a strong, mentor at home. I was one of those kids. My dad was an 18-wheeler driver. He's always gone. And my mom worked 2 jobs. So party time for me when I was growing up, like, there was not a lot of people watching. So me and my little brother was always getting in mischief. And luckily we didn't get anything too bad. But again, you just never know. I mean, it could have went either way sometimes. Who knows? And it's just by the great blessings of God that we are where we are today. And we have had a little success in our life, but again, everybody only sees where you're at now. They don't see the, last 52 years of my life of, what I've had to go through to even get to this point. And the biggest thing is too, I mean, I tell people all the time, a lot of people want to make a lot of money. And, what I've learned in life is if you focus on helping people, the money always comes. If all you're focused on is money, you're going to die a slow, painful death.
I agree. I had that conversation yesterday about what does success look like. And I celebrate wins, man. I think what I'm doing so far, we've had a lot of success. Hasn't equated to a lot of dollars necessarily, but so I don't only judge the success of what I'm doing based on how much money I've made and how many orders I've done. I think if you start doing that, it's, you're gonna, first of all,
you go down a bad path, right? My goal is every single day to do something that's going to touch somebody's life. It could be opening a door for somebody. It could be telling somebody thank you. It could be saying, hey, you look nice. It don't matter. And I'll do it all throughout Fort Worth, Dallas, wherever I'm at. I can't have an ego if I need one, but for the most time, man, I'm just Tim Klund from Southeast Missouri, right? And I just appreciate everybody. I have had my rear end handed me. So, when I see, waiters and waitresses, always over tip, because it's not because, I'm trying to flash you. My mom was a waitress part-time to make ends meet. So I know what they're going through. So it's like, I'd rather give you this money than, anybody else. So, it's just, I think taking care of people, when you define success, my kids and I were talking about this one day. I said, what to me would be success is that, the church wouldn't hold all the people that would want to come to my funeral. That's what, at the end of my day, I would want you kids to go, wow, there's a lot of people wanting to come to my dad's funeral.
Yeah.
At that point, I think that would be a success, that you touched enough people's lives that your loss, it means something. And that's what I focus on every day is, again, how do I help? And it's, look, it's responsibility, right? I mean, the more things you do and the higher you go up, there's responsibility comes with it. It's not always easy, even just handling that.
Yeah,
I probably get 20 requests a day from people wanting this, that, whatever. And I try to do my best to accommodate, but at the same time, I'm running, doing 2 celebrity games, doing, trying to raise money for them, trying to, I've got 4 companies with 2 new product lines getting ready to come out. I mean, it's just a lot, right? But again, I have to remind myself, like, this is what you chose. You chose this life, and you got to take the time to get on this call, or you got to take the time to listen to what this person needs or whatever, right? Because there's a reason why they're calling you. Yeah. And again, I just feel like it's a blessing God put on me. And, some days those blessings are curses, but for the most part, man, it's just like anything else, it's life. And I'll tell you another story. There's 3 things that changed my life. Number 1, when I was in my car accident, I wasn't college educated, but being in a Fortune 500 company, I always had thought they were doing me a favor by letting me work for them. And when I was in my car accident, I was laying in a hospital room. My face looked like the dude off Goonies. And first thing my brother said when I was in ICU, he was like, Jesus, I hope you haven't looked in the mirror, dude. You look like the guy off Goonies. And so I was laying in my room. I was kind of whining a little bit to my mom, like, I'm going to be losing this opportunity, and I'm either have to go back down the ladder, or I'm going to relocate somewhere in the United States. I'm not going to, usually to a crap district that I'm not going to want to go to. And I'm kind of wonk. And what really stood out to me is my mom is one of those people that worked 15 jobs a day if she had enough time in her day, and she's overly loyal. And she's one of those people that, would come in and work at a desk for, her whole career and leave with her golden watch, right? So it blew me away when she was the one who was like, I would think they would be more worried about losing you than you worried about losing them, because I know what you're making. I've seen where you're at. So if you're getting that, you've got to be making them a lot of money. So I would think they'd be more worried about losing you. That's the first thing that I realized, like, wait a minute, I do have value. Just because I'm not college educated, just because I'm not a book smart person, I've got value. The second thing that happened is when I was 36 in the corporate world, about a year before the shareholders had brought me in, told me we got to get rid of half the company. They had got rid of the VP for customer service. Now, this guy's making probably 120, 130 a year. Which is a lot of money to most, but he's at that time, I think he was 55, And it came down to bottom line, right? He's not really generating any revenue for us. We can get rid of him. We're going to save this much more money. And so, of course, I come in and I hear all the words flying out of his office down the hall, and look to my secretary, and she's like, "Yeah, I think they let so and so go." And I was like, "I'll be back." So I went down there, told the HR lady, take a hike, go in there with you. I'm trying to calm him down. Like, dude, you're a stud. You know, because he's somebody I looked up to. He had a degree from a great school. He had a master's from an even better school, and he was probably one of the nicest guys that was, always took the time. He was even a mentor to me, right? Even though I was the executive VP and he was someone underneath me, he was still a guy I looked up to. And so I'm telling him, like, man, you're a stud. Don't worry about it, blah, blah. And he was ranting. He stopped stone cold and sit down. And he's like, TK, let me tell you something. He's like, you need to hear this because you've got so much potential and everything you're doing outside of here. You need to understand what I'm getting ready to tell you. So I'm perked up. He's like, let me tell you something about it. I've worked my whole life to get a job. I've spent all this time in college debt, the whole 9 yards for what? To get a job. He's like, then I finally get jobs, and they're good jobs. But he's like, I've missed my kids' birthdays. I've missed games. I miss family events. I miss vacations. I have sacrificed everything for these criminals. And he was like, what am I getting out of it? And at the end of the day, I'm back to zero. And I'm 55 years old right now, getting released at the worst time and probably since the Great Depression, because there's overabundance of master degree guys out there in the workforce right now trying to find a job. Yeah. And it hit me hard. And he was like, do not let this happen to you. And that really sunk in. And then when the shareholders called me at 10:30 on June 1st and said, hey, can you be here at 7:30 in the morning? We want to talk to you. So I'm thinking like, okay, it's my turn. Almost happy. And I got to work. And then they're like, yeah, no, we need you to get rid of half this company. That's when I was like, I'm out of here. Right. So that was the second thing. And then the third thing that really had probably stood out and changed my life more than anything was just the fact that, again, when I finally just quit trying to put the square peg in the round hole and just kind of took a deep breath and just took a step back, that's when it just started raining. And really it was me hitting my knees. And I mean, like I said, it was probably the worst of time I ever been. And I just, finally just gave up trying to do it all myself. And it's like, God, I know you're there. You can have it all. I don't care what even happens at this point. And I promise you, bro, that afternoon, 2 phone calls came in that put us back on track, and we've never looked back. So, I give everything we've got is just because of God's grace for me personally. I mean, it's, again, a lot of people think I'm something special. I'm not. I'm just like every single person listening to this that just decided to go, you know what, I've had enough. And I'm going to go do what I want to do and do the best that I can. And
I see that side of it, but there's something special about people who want to help others, because it's not really that hard to do. But
I think it's embedded in all of us. I think we're all born with it. Actually, I think we're all born. If you ever walk up to somebody and say, "Hey, can you help me?" Nobody's going to be like, "No," and walk off. Well, if you walk up to anybody on the street and say, "Hey, can you help me?" They're going to be like, "Sure. What is it?" So the thing is us stopping long enough to say, let me get back. Let me see what I can do to maybe improve somebody else's day or help somebody else out. But what happens is we all get so busy in our day and we get like this and focus here, and we're missing all the blessings and all the great things going on around us because we're only focused here because we think this is the most important stuff. This stuff is immaterial. You can always get back to your work. You might have to work later. You might have to, spend more time on the weekend doing some stuff. But the reality is again, every day wake up with an attitude of gratitude and go, man, what can I do to and not just improve my life, but improve, make somebody else put a smile on their face today. What can I do?
What you said is really a huge point for me. And when I was at the Marlins game when Edinson Volquez threw a no-hitter, and that's how Ticket Time Machine started, I went up to the window and I said, can you print Edinson Volquez no-hitter on that? And they said that they couldn't, and I know that they could. Right. Everyone likes to use the word can't. That's not what it is. It's not that you can't do it. It's that you don't want to do it or you're not willing to do it. Right. And so when we talk about helping, it's like, are you willing to help? Do you want to help? Or if you're talking about a business, you don't have to do something that people can't do. You just got to find the stuff that people don't want to do and be good at it and better than others. Not reinventing the wheel, like you said. So that's a huge thing about Do
And
I?
just surrounding yourself with the smartest people, right? That's the other thing. I mean, trust me, I'm not the person that does everything. I come up with ideas and I think, hey, we're going to do this and let's look at this and I've got team members that I go to, within our company and go, hey guys, here's what I want to do. Do your research. Let me know what you think. And if you think it's worthwhile, let me know. And then also come with the plan on what the best way to attack it is, right? And launch it. And my business partner, Karan Rajmahendari, he is by far one of the best guys there is. And the great thing for me and him is that we're opposite brains, right? He doesn't like to do what I do, and I hate to do what he does. And that's why we're perfect for each other, because the stuff I don't like, I throw to him. Stuff he really don't want to do, he's like, TK, can you make this phone call for me? Yeah. So we work out perfect together. Now, with my last company, I had a great partner there too with the Mouthpiece Company. The problem is we're both the same side of the brain. And we both were over on this side, and neither one of us really good on this side. And we could literally drag each other to the bottom of the punch bowl by telling, oh my God, we're so great. So many great things are happening. Right.
How much different would your life have been if you had made it in football to college and didn't have to choose to go to the Air Force? Do you think about
it probably that? It probably would have been a tragedy, honestly, because I wouldn't have valued it. I wouldn't have valued the opportunity. Yeah. I didn't even value the opportunity when I came out of the Air Force. I mean, I was just there to play football and chase girls, school, whatever. I've never really liked school because I do like learning, but what I want to learn about.
Yeah.
I don't like to sit somewhere where it's like, kill me. I don't want to listen to this. I don't even care about this. So that's for me, fortunately, from my standpoint, is, man, I do a ton of research all day long. But again, it's stuff that interests me and motivates me, and I want to learn more. Like, I watched the 30 for 30 last night, Survive and Advance on Jim Valvano and North Carolina State. I probably watch that thing twice a month. I love it. If you just listen to Jimmy Valvano speak and the things he says and how he would, project, like, we're going to win a national championship. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. I talk myself like that every day. Same way, like, I'm going to be a billionaire. We're going to change lives. We're going to help people. We're going to do this. And, the universe just has a way of bringing that all around for you.
His Valvano's ESPY speech is, for me, it's the greatest speech.
Phenomenal. It might be the best of all. I would put it as the best of all time, but I haven't heard all of them. But it's one of my favorites. And it's, again, a guy who just constantly, this poor ugly ass Italian, faced adversity his whole life and laughed it off and just kicked ass all the way. And that's what I love about it. And that's really what life is. And I tell people, they're like, what's the secret of your success? Man, getting used to adversity. When you can be comfortable being uncomfortable, then it's game on. Then it's like, oh, that happened. Okay. And I used to have a general friend of mine that was a mentor of mine. I would call him and, oh my God, anybody die? No, sir. Okay. Well, then what's the problem?
Yeah.
You learn from it? Yes, sir. Okay, what's the problem?
The whole uncomfortable thing is the great thing about that is that we have the choice to put ourselves in. I say that let's get comfortable being uncomfortable. There's so many people who don't have that option. They're just thrown into this environment where they're uncomfortable, but we have this choice and we should embrace it, because that's the way that we're going to improve ourselves.
Look, if you wake up, again, success is by design. Nowadays I tell everybody, and again, even my book, there's no reason you can't be successful. Look at me. And I'm nobody. So, I don't care what your situation is right now in life. There's a way to figure out, how do I get out of this? Whether it's financial, whether it's marital, whether it's spiritual, whether it's whatever. Mm-hmm. With the internet nowadays, you can do anything. You can find out anything you want to find like that, and research and figure it out and start getting more research and compile some data together to help you make a good decision on, how do I get out of this mess? There's money for kids that want to go to college that parents can't afford it. There's so many ways to achieve your goals, but again, it goes back to the will of what you want to do, right? Do I really want to do this, or I just want to give it to me? Am I willing to work hard at it, or do I just want it to happen for me? That's really what it boils down to, honestly, between successful and non-successful people. Is non-successful people just kind of want to show up, punch the clock, and at the end of the day, let me get my check. Everybody else is like, man, screw that check. I'll take the own risk, and I'll take it all on my own self. And whether we win or lose, I can live with it. I can live with that control of my own destiny. I'm not going to let anybody control my destiny for me. And that's what I've learned.
I said this the other day. I will bet on myself every day of the week. And I think, more people need to do that, and they'll find that.
Listen, God gave everybody, God did not create anybody to be ordinary. He created everybody to be extraordinary. And it's just within ourselves to stop the craziness and get on track. And look, my stepmom, she got divorced from my dad after 13 years. She was a housewife her whole life, and with 3 young kids, and put herself back through school, became a nurse practitioner, and, you know, sacrificed what she had to sacrifice to reach her goals. And, you know, she started with 0. My dad left with 0. And she was on food stamps, and she was on all the above. And she's one of my heroes because, again, she looked at adversity and said, I got 2 choices. I can be here, or I can go get what I want. And if I want to get it, how do I do it? And she went and did it. And there's so many success stories there's so many successful stories of people out there like that doing that. But again, it's just, man, people just have to have enough pain. They finally just got to have enough of it to go, I'm done. I'm going a different direction. I'm done with this. I want better, and I'm going to go get it. And the reality is they can once they make that decision. Every day you wake up, this is no story Jimmy Johnson used to tell all the University of Miami players. Michael Irvin told my son this story after his freshman year of high school when they won state championship. And he told all these players, all the Cowboy players every day, he said, man, every day you wake up, you have 2 choices. You can either get better or you can get worse. There's no in between. And that is probably the most truest statement I've ever heard on this planet, is every single day you wake up, you have 2 choices. You're going to get better, or you're going to stay the same. And staying the same is not getting better.
No, it's not.
It's actually, you're going backwards. So, you know, again, and look, you're going to have good days. You're going to have bad days. And, you know, my bad days are still good, because I don't let them get me down. I don't let them derail me. I just like, oh, it's just, you know, it's just one day in my life.
Yeah.
And it didn't go, and it's not a bad day. It just didn't go the way I wanted.
Yeah.
You know, I'm so used to getting everything I want that all of a sudden something I didn't get something I want. Now I'm mad. I'm upset. You know, it's like, yeah, you know what? I'm not worried about. I'll get back on track tomorrow. Right.
You get used to the good life, and it's, you know, then
I start getting worried when I don't have adversity, to be honest with you. When I man, things are going so good all over the place. I mean, I'm kind of like, ooh, what's going on here? Because I like it. I like the adversity. And again, that's why I like doing these games. Honestly, that's why my wife's like, you like doing these games just to, you know, prove people wrong. And I was like, no, I like doing these games to prove to myself that I can achieve it, because everybody's already told me there's no way I can. And that's pretty much been my whole life anyway. I mean, my counselor in high school was pretty much like, do we really need to spend any time talking about your future? Because come on, Clutter, like, you know, I love you, but you know, you're probably a factory worker at best. And, you know, I'm laughing like, yeah, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
I'm going to do something great. It's not going to be a factory based on, you know, well, academia thinks, you know, because you're this student. It's not going to happen.
Tell me a player. Do you have any players or celebrities that you'd love to have at the game that you haven't been able to get yet?
Not really. Most of them have all tried to get to the game. I mean, everybody from Snoop and 50 Cent and you name it I've been wanting to play. It's just scheduling. Not really. Maybe The Rock. I mean, you know, Shaq, Bonnie Jill is real good friends with Shaquille O'Neal, and you know, he does TNT NBA, and he wanted to actually his mom and dad are veterans, and she had him gassed up on coming and being the DJ on the field. And he was really excited about it. And then he figured out that's still during playoffs and NBA finals. And he was just devastated that he was like, I can't make it. But I think Shaquille O'Neal would probably be one of the funnest guys I'd want to hang out with. And I've hung out with a ton of them. I mean, and honestly, the funny thing is there's really never been any what people consider celebrities that I haven't been around or seen that you're just like, what a douchebag. Honestly, everybody would be just like me and you having chat once you're in a certain room with them, right? It's just,
that's good to have. They're not all like that. I've met plenty, and they're not all like that. Which actually, brings me to the last question that you said, which you maybe already answered it. The last question we ask everyone on the Wolff Den is, if you could spend a day with anyone in the world, they have to be alive and you can't be related to them, who would you pick and what would you do? Would it be Shaq? Is it someone else?
No, I'd be Donald Trump.
Trump. Okay.
I'd sit down with Trump, and not on a political standpoint. I would sit down with him on, give me some insight, give me some secrets.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you read Trump's book, Art of Success or The Art of the Deal, and I don't like reading either, FYI. And I literally read that whole book on a flight from Dallas to Phoenix. I was so intrigued with it because it was how he would take this situation and maneuver it in with this situation to get the accomplishment he wanted, right, to reach his goal. And again, it wasn't overnight. There's some things, even building some of these buildings, that would take 3 years just to get the permits, just for him to even, you get to the next step of spending 3 years on trying to figure something out, right? And that's what I've just kind of learned from that book, is the persistence of just never giving up. If you really got a dream and you really want something bad enough, you just really go get it, right? And I think Trump is just, I just would like to sit down with him and pick his brain. Elon Musk, I would probably, Elon is, if you ever seen his thing, it's like, I'm not the smartest guy in the room. I just surround myself with the smartest people, right? Same thing.
Trump, we're at almost 200 episodes, and Trump has been mentioned a few times as the answer. So definitely would be an interesting conversation and day, and there's a lot to learn.
Well, I like him, even though he's president, because I don't like politicians, and that's probably why I like Trump. He says what he wants to say. He doesn't care. There's no political correctness about him, and and he is really the guy for the people, and again, his accomplishments, and you look at his family. People have been trying to get him and his family for damn near 8 years now. I can't find a speck on him. It'd take you about 8 minutes. You can find a whole speck of a book on TK. So all craziness. So it just kind of goes to show. But yeah, I just like to. I'm intrigued. Maybe Elvis would probably be the other one, or Sinatra. Maybe sitting down with one of those two guys too. Those would probably, Elvis and Sinatra and Trump would probably be my top three.
Yeah, well, it's got to be alive. So
we'll go to Trump. Yeah.
So
now I keep telling my mom. I've asked her a few times, and she's getting up there in age. Like, you can go ahead and tell me the truth. Like, I know you and Elvis hooked up early in 1970, about 10 months before I was born. Go ahead and let me know now. My dad's passed away. You can tell me the truth. You and Elvis hooked up. I am Elvis's baby. I'm not going to cause any problems. I'm not going to, go out there and make it political, but there's just too much resemblance for it not to be true. Joe, you can go ahead and tell me. And then my mom and my wife was with me, because I always tell her, like, I know I'm Elvis's, bastard son. I know for a fact. And my mom answered just calm and cool. And she was just looking at me while I was telling her, just a look on. She goes, I wish he was your dad. And my wife was like, okay, I'm getting another drink. And I was like,
That's got to be my new question then. If you could be someone's son or sibling, who would you want it to be?
It'd be Elvis or Sinatra. I would, those guys are the lifestyles that I, honestly, I best reflect, unfortunately. But they've always been. Now the other two guys, actually, but I've spent time with both of them that are really two of the guys that I really enjoyed, that were my heroes growing up, is Jim McMahon and the Boz. Yeah. Like, those were my two heroes. I had them all with the line shaved to my head and the whole 9 yards when I was in high school. And, and I was about as of a punk as they were in the pros and in college at the time, again, just disrespecting authority and, maybe Burt Reynolds too. If there's one more I could probably hang out with, that's passed on, probably Burt Reynolds. But I've been pretty fortunate to hang out with some really cool people, from McConaughey to Toby and you name it. And I'm telling you, they're all 1000% legit, and their families too. Super legit, all down to earth, all some of the best people you could ever meet. And it's a blessing and refreshing to get to hang out with those people and to call them my friends.
We talked about what we mentioned. We mentioned the Valvano speech, but McConaughey did a speech at a college. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah.
It was a very powerful. Very powerful.
Every time I see that thing on social media, I share it. Yeah. I promise you. Actually, Jim Valvano would probably be another one. He'd be at the top of my list to hang out with, just because of his insight. And and again, how did he become where he is? It's adversity creates champions, right? And a lot of us, and that's what derails a lot of people. If a lot of people have grown up in a pretty closed environment where you really haven't faced a lot of adversity in life, and then all of a sudden you do, they don't know how to handle it, and it just comes crashing down on them. And a lot of them can't recover from it. And luckily for me, all the adversity came first before the success. And I still don't even feel like I'm at the starting line where
not even done yet. Lot to come.
I'm not even at the starting line. I'm not even close to the finish line. I'm still not even at the starting line where I want to be. So, and again, I get up every day and just compete with that punk in the mirror and be like, I'm going to beat you again today before it's over with, whether it's working out, whether it's trying to eat right, I'm just so competitive with myself and everything I do. And it's kind of like Michael Jordan watching the Last Dance. Somebody tells you can't do something, like that's immediately like I'm going the opposite direction. Yeah. So even after 22 years with my wife, if she'll say something like, you can't be doing, I'm like, You already know. Like, that's the worst thing you could tell me on this planet is, you have to learn how to rephrase when you communicate with me. Don't tell me I can't, because I'm going that direction now. Right.
That's my Barney Stinson challenge accepted from How I Met Your Mother.
100%.
So
100%.
CelebritySoftballClassic.com, rrcsg.org are the two games. Buyverve.com, some great products coming out, as you mentioned. Stop Whining, Start Winning on Amazon. That's the book. Really appreciate you coming on here.
Man, thanks for having me. We've only been trying for 2 years. It's awesome.
Looking forward to getting involved in your games in some capacity. You know, I'll find a way in, and how to help people and help you guys.
Yeah, I think, as we talked, I think next year, even at the rate this thing is growing, like last year, we thought, we'd have 5,000 people. I think we had 6,400. This year, we're expecting 15,000 at Globe Life Field. So, and again, we got 80 players on each team. I bet you probably 50 of them won't even play. Everybody just wants to come and support and have fun. And, the great thing about this is for me personally, I'm lucky enough to know everybody, but I love when the veterans can meet other veterans and it help expand the brand. And celebrities can meet celebrities they don't know, expand their brand. And then celebrities can meet the veterans, and veterans meet the celebrities, expand their brand. And everybody just comes out this weekend with so many new friends, and it's just so much fun. And then you throw the Gronkowski brothers in there. Jesus, like the East Coast brought a Texas tornado in here for the weekend. But I mean, there's some of the funnest guys to hang out with as well, but they'll be in the game.
Yeah, I was a fan of Gronk. My sister is a Wildcat, so bear down.
Okay.
I was a fan of Gronk when he was in college. So, but he's made something. We'll talk soon. Check out.
Yeah, brother, if you need me, I appreciate you guys and all you listeners out there. Hey, suck it up. Go get it.
Perfect. We'll talk to you soon, and we got some great episodes next week on the Wolff Den.